This production is sponsored by The Good Estate Agent. With an average turnaround time of 3 weeks, if you want your house sold quickly, then contact Stefan today on 01942 356 577. Quote Super League Raw for 33% off. Welcome to the Captain's Run ahead of round number 19 of the Betfred Super League. Where is this season going, Mr. Sale? It's going to be another great round of Super League, though.
It's flying by, isn't it? There'll be a grand final before we know it. But we know, getting exciting now, Dave. I think there's some really, really good fixtures again this week.
There's some belting fixtures again this week. Slightly different captain's run than normal. Yours truly is in Cyprus. So we had to pre-record this one, but we will be taking you pretty close to the Sky production this evening. Of course, what a game. And we're going to be starting there in a minute. But before we do, let's just check back in once again with the Super League table. This is where we, of course, left it. The Robins now 2 points ahead of Wigan and a 77-point difference in their favour as far as the points for and against. Then the Leopards 3 points behind, Steph. Looking good. A win against Saints this evening will certainly be a massive bonus for the Be The Roarers and put them in a great position if they can achieve that. We'll talk about that in a few moments' time. Then the Rhinos on level points with Saints 24. FC, of course, their win last week over Trinity puts them back into sixth. And then the Wire and Trin, of course, Trin above the Wire on points difference. 18 points in there. So from really is still very much game on 8th and above, we would say. Catalan's defeat to Warrington last week, you'd say pretty much rules them out, Steph, would you say?
Yeah, I think Catalan are pretty much gone now, and obviously a tough fixture against KR, which we're going to talk about shortly. But yeah, I think that from Warrington up, I think will be the playoff teams.
Fair enough. And of course, this is the fixture list. So let's go through them. And then, of course, we'll, as always, go into each one and give you our opinions on them. Of course, St. Helens this evening hosting the Leopards. The Leopards in great form. 2 brilliant wins. But let's not forget, Saints, a great win for them. Saints also in great form. Let's not forget, Saints on an incredible run of form in terms of the win columns. We'll get to that in a moment. The Giants, well, they go up against Wakey for the first time in 2025, round 19. You just couldn't have an even, could you?
Leeds, Saints, Saints.
True, yeah, Leeds and Saints and Leigh, yeah, unbelievable, isn't it? Absolutely unbelievable. Leeds against Salford, Wigan take on FC. Then the Robins, off the back of 2 defeats in a row, go to the Catalan Dragons into Perpignan, and then to bring the curtain down on Sunday will be the Castleford Tigers taking on the Warrington Wolves. Some juicy fixtures there. Without further ado, let's get into game number 1. This is it. The Leopards going up against Saints at the Totally Wicked Stadium. Leigh Leopards fans, apologies for telling you this, but you are yet to win at the Totally Wicked Stadium. So that's a little bit of something for you to consider there. But 8-4 in the favour of Saints. That's some really good wins against them, though, in the recent past. Let's not forget that. 3-2 up Leigh against Saints. They really have been in some fine form when they come up against Paulwell and side. Of course, like I said, Saints dispatching teams efficiently of late. Of course, a great win for them at Headingley last week. As for the Leigh Leopards, yes, they did have that loss in the middle there, but 2 fantastic wins in the last 2 weeks, to dispatch Wigan and KR. They couldn't go into this game against Saints, hopefully, for them anyway, with as much confidence as they are going to go into it with, because they should have a lot of confidence playing some wonderful rugby league. You go into the points for and the points against. They haven't conceded 3,000. They've conceded 342, though, of the Leigh Leopards. What's a 1 between friends? But yeah, Saints, of course, 483, conceded 198. A little bit closer for Leigh, 381, 342. Tackle efficiency, very, very close. Conversions, very, very close. In fact, everything very, very close. It has to be said. It's going to be a fascinating game, this one, Steph. I mean, first and foremost, let's just talk open and candidly about it. Let's talk Saints first. A lot of talk earlier in this campaign, of course, Wellens out and all that nonsense. We've said that before. But fair play to them. They have really started to kick in with a bit of form. 5 in a row. You can't do any more than that. And it was an efficient win against Leeds last week.
It was, and most impressive was the defence against Leeds, who we know can score tries for fun, and I think they did a fantastic job in putting pressure on that Leeds side, containing them and forcing errors. So they'll be looking for a repeat of that against Leigh. Morgan Knowles. Matty Lees, I thought were both brilliant in that game, and some exciting young backs as well. With the young lad, I forget his name. I should know that 'cause we've just been talking about him.
Dagnall, Owen Dagnall.
Dagnall, yeah, I thought he was great against Leeds, and Harry Robertson as well. Really good player. And I think Lomax has been playing pretty decent these last few weeks as well. He's really starting to see a bit of form after being dropped. I think the key one for this one is though the two hookers going off both with HIAs for Saints against Leeds, so there'll be no Darryl Clark in this one, and it's whether. Whether they put Mbai to hooker, whether we see Whitby come back.
He'll be back. Yeah.
Yeah, so that this is going to be the interesting thing in terms of Saints team selection and whether Lee can capitalise on that, and maybe that will disrupt him a little bit. But no doubt Saints. I think when you've got that confidence in defence, that can instill it through the whole team. So it's going to be a tough ask for Lee to break down Saints this evening.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game, and you're right. I mean, look, Saints for me, it seems a long time ago since they lost to KR. Seems a long time ago. 5 in a row, dispatched them really well, and of course the win over Leeds is an important one. Because of course they have had a lot of criticism from a lot of quarters because they've been beating the teams below them, but they haven't really took many scalps on teams above them. So that one against, to get over the line against Leeds, of course, magic when the wheels fell off and it looked as if they were going to self-combust as a team. A lot of ill feeling at that time. That seems a long time ago as well. To actually dispatch Leeds, who of course come off a brilliant win the week before against KR. What more can Paul Wellens do? What more can the team do? They should come into the game tonight up for this and believing they can win it.
Yeah, it's given them a lot of confidence without a doubt, and it's obviously beaten Leeds twice in that run, isn't it? So going to Headingley, I think was very impressive for me. It's a tough place to go. Leeds are in great form. They're playing really good rugby this year under Brad Arthur. So they'll have that as a milestone win and a real confidence booster for the whole club. That victory, I think that was even more impressive than the home victory, even though they scored more points. To go to somewhere like Headingley and do that was fantastic for them. So they'll be full of confidence tonight. They'll want to take Leigh down and not Leigh down a peg or two after beating KR and Wigan. So I think we're going to learn a lot about both sides' playoff chances this evening.
Yeah, I mean, you were exceptional against KR the weekend. Ethan O'Neill, not heard anything at the time of recording. That'll probably be a concern. Of course, didn't come out for the second half against Leigh. Did look as if he was in a lot of trouble. We were both probably very concerned that he didn't bring him off. I mean, I counted the trainer when and talked to him at least 4 or 5 times, and Ethan O'Neill was waving him off. That's for me when perhaps the trainer's got to be a bit more clinical and say, no, you're coming off. Because it was crystal clear that he wasn't in a good way.
No, it's looking like bruised medial ligament. Which is, I think, probably the best situation with that, and hopefully it'll be a couple of weeks. I don't envisage him starting tonight. I'd be amazed if they didn't rest him. But that's obviously a decision for him and for Adrian in terms of whether he does play. But I'd be very surprised, Dave.
Yeah, with a knock like that, it's unlikely. Let's talk. I mean, look, let's talk this up. I mean, there's some phenomenal contests on the field of play today. We've given a lot of values, like Bailey Hodgson, Tristan Saylor, the 2 fullbacks are in really good form. I'm going to go to the right edge of Saints and the left edge here of Leigh. Josh Charnley coming up against Kyle Felt. I mean, they're 2 big-bodied wingers, aren't they? That, for me, as a spectacle, should be a belter.
Yeah, it'd be a really good contest. And I do expect Saints to try and go aerial on Josh in this game, use Kyle's height advantage.
We've
So
seen that.
don't be surprised if we see plenty of kicks into Josh Charlie's corner and really test him if Saints get a good ball position.
And then on the other side, the battle of the young bucks. Dagnall goes up against Brand. I mean, it's wonderful, isn't it? I mean, 2 brilliant contests on the edges.
Yeah, and again, I think this is I don't want to give Paul Wellens any coaching tips here, but yeah, both Charlie and Brand in the height terms, whereas Dagnall and Felt, both 6 foot plus. So these attacking kicks, maybe from Johnny Lomax, we just mentioned earlier, his form's improving. I really expect him to try and go aerial and put Lee under pressure in those wing positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the key things that I'm expecting this evening from the St. Helens perspective, highly unlikely that they're going to put Robertson up against Tessie New. I just don't see that. That's a complete mismatch. I think Percival's return last week was timely. Do you expect that they will put Mark Percival there against New to try and eliminate Tessie New's attacking threat?
Yeah, I think Percival's a really solid defender, isn't he? He likes to rush the attacking line as well from a defensive point of view. So I do see him matching up against Tessie and then putting Robinson up against Maya Hanley. I think that's quite a kind of a better match for those two. So that'll be a contest. There's contests all over the field for this
There
one, to be
is.
fair.
There is, and to be fair, like I say, they do. I mean, I remember against Warrington, they moved Percival across, when to tighten up the right edge as it was
Yes.
then. And like I say, with Tessie Newby in that side, it wouldn't surprise me. I think that's something that Paul Wellens has to do because it's a mismatch. Harry Robertson's a great player in the making, but to come up against a juggernaut like Tessie New this early, it's just a complete mismatch. He'll give it a good go, don't get me wrong, but I think the safer pair of hands would be Percival. And then, of course, in the pack, I mean, for 2 weeks running now, we've been very concerned, I would say, that Leigh couldn't match Wigan or KR, arguably two of the best forward lines in the league, with depth as well coming off the bench. And to a man, the Leigh Leopards really have stood up in the likes of Jack Hughes and Tizivaki came off the bench, Matt Davis. They've really stood up and put a proper dig in. Of course, Joffa's been in great form as well. This is another test for them because in Knowles, Lees, and Walmsley, this is another key battle. If they was to come through this test, all of a sudden, I mean, as a Leigh fan, you'd be so proud of those boys to go 3 weeks running against that level of opposition and coming through it.
We spoke about confidence and what that will have done that win at Leeds for St Helens. The confidence in the league camp will be sky high. Especially those forwards we mentioned, and I think Isaac Liu's really stepped up these last few weeks, gone under the radar a little bit in terms of being, other performances what League players have put in. But I think he's been exceptional at carrying the ball, and Robbie Mulhern is the big absentee, isn't it, along with David Armstrong for League. But I think the players that have come in have stood up really well. No doubt Robbie's a big miss for Leigh, and especially in that go forward that he does give you. But yeah, the ones that have stepped up, and Isaac Lewis really done that for Leigh. I think he's been really crucial to the carries down the middle and the good work that he's done there and giving Ipape room to work.
I was impressed with him at the weekend. Very solid, very hard running down the middle. Again, him and Knowles. It's literally a great contest. It should be a wonderful game of rugby league football. This, I'm really excited to see what these two deliver this evening. We've got to go there. How do we see this one going? Of course, last week I backed against your team, as you know, and even though I come back out, I'm not going to let you forget. I did say I had a feeling in my water when I met you in the morning, but obviously, I did back KR. You backed your side last week and you came good. Are you backing them again tonight?
You gave me a great start earlier on to say that we've not won at the Totally Wicked Stadium. We've made a habit of knocking some of these ending these hoodoos. 43 years of winning at Wigan, doing the double over them as well. So I think that the way Leigh are performing at the moment, I'd be crazy not to back them. But that doesn't mean that Saints aren't well capable of turning Leigh over if they defend like they did against Leeds and can nullify our attacking threats, particularly Lachlan Lamb, who just climbing up the assist charts at a ridiculous rate at the moment. That's the key one for me. If they can keep Lachlan Lamb quiet and defend like they did, and then, like I say, go aerial on Brandon Charlie, then that will stand Saints in good stead. But I think it's going to be a close game. I'm going Leigh 1-8, but it could quite easily be Saints 1-8 as well.
Yeah, I see it as a 1-8 contest to do, and I'm going to back Leigh just because I was so impressed. so impressed against KR. If they repeat that against Saints, the league doesn't lie. I think Leigh this year have been more consistent than Saints. I think and they've looked more settled, I think is probably the right word, than Saints have been this season. But albeit Saints are coming good. But I think it'd be very foolish not. In the recent past, Leigh have done really well against Saints. They've been beating them, which is good to see. And I think off the back of the weekend's performance, I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go Leigh 1-8. I think it's going to be a fascinating game. It could go either way. But in a season that keeps giving, Saints were to win this one. Here we go again. It's what a season. What a season. But yeah, roll on. 8 o'clock. What a kickoff that one's going to be. Right, let's now move to Friday fixtures. And this one, Huddersfield Giants taking on Wakefield Trinity. And of course, Wakey didn't cloud themselves in much glory last week against the FC. They really fell off badly, as did Huddersfield, actually. Both of them did. Both had reasonable first half. You'd argue Huddersfield had a better first half at Wigan than Wakey did at MKM, even though Wakey were ahead. But both fell off terribly in the second half. The last time that Wakey won at the John Smiths, this is a bit of a concern if you're a Wakey fan, was all the way back to round number 14, 2019, a 25-26 thriller. That's a bit of a while ago. I mean, both teams have won 2 in the last 5. Wakey obviously performing a lot better than Huddersfield. Huddersfield, we know, well documented at their injury challenges this season. Very, very close in terms of tackle efficiency and conversions. Very, very close elsewhere. It's just that, let's be fair, when you'll take that into account, the form of Wakefield points to Wakefield. Huddersfield have been growing, as we've said. They've got to navigate some challenges. Greenwood failed his HIA. Sam Hewitt, obviously, he won't feature in this one either. Ollie Wilson, unlikely to be back as well. It was a big miss against Saints. Adam Swift pulled up before the Wigan game. Will he be back fit? There's lots of question marks over the Huddersfield squad. As for Wakey, they'll want to bounce back, and they're good enough to bounce back. That will hurt them last week. Maybe for the first time, a degree of complacency set in there. Winning at half-time against a team that's not won at home all season, perhaps that complacency crept in. Davil will be addressing that this week. Do you expect Wakey to improve and come through this one?
Yeah, I think there'll be a much improved Wakefield side. I think everyone was disappointed with the way that they played, just because it's our guilty pleasure, aren't they? This season, Wakefield, we all love watching them, and especially in the second half last week, I was shocked how badly they actually played in that game. It was so characteristic of how they've been playing this season. So I'm expecting a big reaction. I think the more than the Wakefield reaction though is those injuries that you just talked about. Greenwood, Hewitt, Swift, and Wilson. More importantly, who's been phenomenal for Huddersfield this year. They're massive losses for them in what would already be a tough game for Huddersfield. So with all those things considered, I think it's going to be a tough day at the office for the Giants. I hope I'm wrong for the Giants fans. I hope they can put a real solid performance in. And they've got some bright sparks as well. Milne's been playing pretty well at the moment. Gagai's coming into his own, and obviously George Flanagan is a big threat against any side. So they'll need those players to really step up against Wakefield. I'm just not so sure that they've got enough there with those injuries to cope with Wakefield.
You mentioned George Flanagan. I think absolutely a massive attacking threat. Massive attacking threat. I mean, he's appeared on how many bet Stephs for the try scorers this year. You've just picked the wrong games, unfortunately. But he has been and he's dangerous. He is a dangerous player, no doubt about it. However, in this one, if you were Luke Robinson, would you be concerned the Josh Rourke factor against somebody of the size of Flanagan? Because we've seen what he's done against Jaifield at Wigan. Against Wigan, we saw him against Catalan, against Sam. I mean, somebody with the experience of sorry, not Jaifield. I'm talking about Catalan, Sam Tompkins. Sam Tompkins with his experience, that try that he scored 2 weeks ago. If you're Luke Robinson, are you looking at this? Are you tempted to move Flanagan for this game because of that threat, or do you go, no, we know that threat's coming. We need some decoy runners. We need some people holding the ground to disrupt Josh Rourke, holding your ground, make it hard for him to encroach on Flanagan, because we need Flanagan on the edges to do his thing.
Yeah, who did they play in the halves against Wigan? Lollahea and
Frawley.
Frawley, yeah. So I can't see him playing in any other position because
He
he's
has
not going to
played in the
chase it.
halves, hasn't he, in the past? And
He
while Harry's played
has, but
fullback.
yeah, I just don't see that. I don't see it. I think they're going to want to keep his consistency going there. Um, I think, like you said, more put some protection around him, really.
Yeah.
But if he's going to make his career at a fullback, he needs to be dealing with those. There's no excuses, and he's not a small lad,
No.
Flanagan. So this is a good test for him. And like I say, it is gonna be a tough day for Huddersfield. I can see, it. And I think the Clune one's the one that's really bit them as well. Because when he came back, he looked like he'd give him a bit of shape again, and it was a bit more exciting. To lose him was a real blow
Hammer,
for them.
hammer blow.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was in great form. He was in absolutely great form. But on that note, I think that is a fascinating halves battle. I also think the hooking battle, Wolford and Hood, that's a belter. That's going to be a really tasty little
very
tussle. I mean,
similar, very
it's not
similar players.
very much so. Like the tackle, do a lot of hard grunty work. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. Of course, Smith last week, coming off the bench for Wakey, that wonderful setup for Jowett. Again, contrasting styles there. Not so much really for Huddersfield. They tend to utilise Goulding in there, don't they? And he's not the quickest Ash, is he? I mean, he's got pace, but he's almost middle ground. Whereas the likes of a Smith, it's about pace. It's off. It's down the middle. It's watching, as you would always say, the lazy retreats and finding those gaps. Ash probably hasn't got that in his game. He's got a bit of that in his game, but not enough. But again, fascinating contest. Fascinating contest. Right, and of course, Leroy Cudjoe going up against Jai Pitts. What a contest that is. Two old timers. Good evening, boys. But yeah, two old timers who, let's be fair, are putting in incredible shifts for both of the sides. I mean, again, what's the not to like about Huddersfield Wakey on Friday night? Should be a good game. If Wakey's got true, though, playoff ambitions, they have to win this one. What are you going?
I'm really, really sorry to our Cowbell Army. You know how much I love you. I'm going to go Giant. Sorry, I'm going to go Wakefield 18 plus.
You're going a big win. You think that'll have hurt him at the MKM? They're going to come back strong.
I think it's more so to do with the players that Giants haven't got.
Yeah,
That's more. If that's the case, and all those players we said aren't playing, I can just see Jowett having a field day.
Can't underestimate Greenwood. I think Greenwood, when he's played this year, has been 8, 9 out of 10. He's
Big
been
loss.
solid. Been solid.
Wilson as well. It just takes a lot of the go forward away, and I hope I'm wrong, but I just see a bit of a runaway for Wakey this one.
If it means anything to you, our Giants contingent, I've got 9-17 Wakey. There you go. But yeah, we're both going Wakey. Right, we then move to this one. Leeds Rhinos taking on the Salford Red Devils. They'll be disappointed, Leeds. They will be absolutely disappointed with their showing against St. Helens. I mean, quite frankly, quite blunt in attack. I mean, there was 0, so they were blunt in attack, but they looked that. At no point last week did they look as if, for me, they were going to threaten the Saints' defensive line, which was a real shock. They've got Salford this week off the back of a win. I mean, we'll talk about Salford in a minute. And of course, out of respect for Salford, we'll discuss this one this week because, we saw character against Castleford, real character, and some really good. I mean, Murphy, when he came on, when they had to move it around, Nickarine went off, Briley went into the halves, and they brought that young lad Murphy on. He really, and that's been the real shining light for Salford. Some of these kids, Connell, another one, just really good quality. The future's so bright, and it's lovely to see him, starting what I'm sure are going to be brilliant careers. 50 points, 50 wins to 9 in the favourite Leeds, incredible. 4-1 in the last over this. The last time that Salford won at Edding, was 2023 in round 11. They won 22 points to 12, and this is interesting. And I mean, this basically says we're only talking 2 seasons ago, and the only players that played last weekend for Salford that played in that game in 2023 are Ormond Royd, Shane Wright, and Ryan Briley. That just says it all, Steph, in terms of Salford this year and what they've had to go through. Every conceivable stat says it's Leeds. That's the reality of the situation. Let's be honest about that. But again, from a Salford's perspective, I think I've been really impressed, and I'm proud actually of the youngsters and some of the old guard as well, who have really, to a man, could have just gone through the motions. And there's been the odd big score put on them, but in the main, when I've watched them this season, and as you know, I watch every game, and I know you do as well, they've never give up. They've always put a shift in. They've always tried hard. And, you know, against a bruised animal, we know that Aledzki's out for this one. You know, Mikolaj is gone. They've just come off the back of a loss. Not saying Salford are going to win it, but it'll be interesting to see how they go.
Yeah, and I think the only danger for Leeds in this one, I think, is overplaying, trying to correct too much from last week. I don't think they need to do that. For me, they need to just go back to the basics, Leeds, in this one, and if they do that, then they should win comfortably. They're just man for man, they're just better players than what Salford have got currently. But that's the big risk for them. But likewise, Salford are going there with nothing to lose, so they'll have a really good dig and. Have a lot of confidence from that win against Castleford. Some of the tries they scored were fantastic. They were, top draw tries. The big problem for Salford is the two of their most creative in Masters and Nicarima are now not going to be playing.
Yeah.
So this is why I believe it's going to be a real, if it doesn't rain, it pours for Salford in that respect. So that's why I think they're going to have a tough day at the office. And I think the South Stand will smell blood in this one, and they'll really want to get a big score put on to help their points difference, because that could be crucial as we look at the battles for third, fourth, fifth place in the table.
Absolutely, and I think that, the other thing in this as well, from a Leeds perspective, is discipline. Because in these type of games, they've got to keep the heads, they've got to keep the discipline. I'm trying to think who they're playing in round 20. Do you know off the top of your head? Let's just have a quick look who they've got. Here we go. Because they've got Wakey away. They've got Wakey away, then they've got Leigh away. So, this is not just about dispatching Salford. This is also about being squeaky clean where the match review panel is concerned, because they can ill afford to lose key personnel going into what on paper would be two very challenging away from home fixtures in rounds 20 and 21.
Yeah, and one they're already going to be missing, Aletsky. It's 2 months. I think we were saying on its initial prognosis of his injury. So that's going to take a lot of grunt away from the Leeds middle, but also put pressure on those other players as well to step up and take that workload. What he's been doing fantastically well this season. So yeah, they can ill afford any suspensions to those middles. They'll need to be squeaky clean. It's very easy sometimes, especially when you're playing a team at the bottom of the table, to get drawn into a bit of niggle and to lose your cool a little bit. Brad Arthur will be, instilling in them into this week. It's got to be a professional performance from Leeds. They've got to be ruthless. They've got to really show for me what they can do and not take the foot off the gas, and really put pressure, because if they give Salford a sniff, it'll end up being a closer game than what a lot of people think. Then this is what I'm saying. They've got to be clinical in their decision making this week.
Warrington case in point. Let's be fair. Warrington were expected to go to the SCS and destroy him, but and they didn't. They stood up strong, and on a different night could have got the win there. I think this is, I think as well, from a Leeds Rhinos perspective, 2026. This is an interesting game, and the fact that you would expect Holroyd and Jenkins, certainly Jenkins, to be in. And we know they're losing Sam Lazone to Hull FC. There's been no announcement as to who's coming into Leeds for next season. Of course, that will come down the track. But for Aledzki's still the talisman. We know Aledzki's still the talisman. But as you found at Leigh, Mullern out at the moment, you're gonna lose them. Saints, Walmsley, they've lost Walmsley a few critical times in the last 2 seasons, and then it's for the supporting cast to show what they're made of. So they're going to get a bit of a glimpse here in terms of how well they are set for 2026, because while Aledzki's out, these other players, the Holroyds, the Jenkins, they've got to show that actually, no, don't worry about recruitment. We can take this charge on.
Absolutely, and for me, it's a bit different when you lose a middle compared to when you lose a half. There are players in squads that should be capable of stepping. You may lose 20 yards, on an overall stat, but they should be able to step up and still put in a decent performance. Whereas all your creativity comes from your halves, doesn't it? But they set the platform, so if they don't match up to getting close to where Lescu's at, then that's where they could start coming unstuck a bit. But I don't see that happening in this game. I really think that will have hurt them last week. I don't think they played badly against St Helens. I think there was some individual poor performances, but nothing where I'd be panicking. And I don't think they need to panic. And I think that's the big thing with Brad Arthur and his coaching credentials this year. To just keep them calm, professional performance, and the rest will look after itself.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to, like I say, we're expecting it. I'm presuming you're going Leeds 18 plus at home.
Yes.
Yeah, and so am I. Let's just hope that Salford continue to do what they've done, which is, they will put up their best shot. And like I say, we're going to find out a little bit about, like I said, those middle units of Leeds, and also, where they're at mentally. But I'd expect them to be pretty good in this one. Right, let's now move across to this. This is a fascinating game. Of course, who can forget the Challenge Cup? Hull FC taking on Wigan Warriors. Now, Wigan have not been in great form. They got through the Giants, and convincingly, it has to be said in the end, albeit they got off to a slow start. 52-15 in the history of Super League, 4-1 in the last 5 Super League meetings. The points for very much in the favour of Wigan. Points against 305 for FC, which is roughly around 15-16 a game at this stage of the season. So, Wigan don't concede many. We know that 233 there, so they're going to have to at least be able to put 2 scores on Wigan, if not 3, to win this FC is what I would say. In terms of conversions, tackles, again, we're at that stage of the season where errors and penalties evening themselves out a little bit, albeit we do know that FC have got a pretty poor disciplinary record, to say the least, in 2025, something that they won't be proud of. Fascinating fixture again, because Hull FC at the start of the season were almost Wakey-esque in the fact that they weren't. Huddersfield's a good case in point, where they had no right to win the game and they did. Wigan Challenge Cup, no right to win the game, but they did. They stayed in the grind and they came back, and we saw that against Wakefield at the MKM at the weekend. First half we're just expecting a second half. Wakey, you're going to shoot for the moon, done, over. And then, Hull FC said, we'll see about that. And we all know what happened next. So, we know that Hull FC have got it in them. They've got it in them to stay in the grind and to pick teams off. And let's be fair, Wigan have been very, very guilty in the last 4 or 5 weeks of allowing teams to stay in the ground, and could have been picked off by, Castleford, by Huddersfield, as we know. So there's a lot for Jed Cartwright and John Cartwright and his troops to be going into this one thinking, do you know what? If we can play to our optimum, they are still probably there's still a bit of fragility potentially still there, and they could fancy this.
Yeah, and I think a lot depends on whether Marshall comes back into the team. I think that's big for Wigan. I think the Wade experiment, obviously it's only his first game, but he had a few errors in him, didn't he? And he's only going to get better as he goes along. But for a game as big as this one, I'd like to see Marshall back in if he's available. So that'll be interesting. The key difference for me in terms of the Challenge Cup one is, as we've spoken about loads of times, Asiata, Will Price. They're 2 massive misses for them. But if Wigan play like they did against Huddersfield first half and give FC a sniff, then like we've spoke about loads of times in terms of adrenaline kicking in, that can get you through games. So it's going to be really fascinating which Wigan side turns up, whether it be the first half side against Huddersfield or the second half side. But I think that Wigan are going to put in a much better performance this week. I've just got a funny feeling that they're going to really up the game. There'll be some conversations in that Wigan dressing room over the past few performances. Not the standards where we expect them to be, and they'll be the biggest critic of that as well. So I think they'll really want to put a performance on for the fans this week.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and I think they've got to start to look like a team that are coming into form. And at the moment, they don't look that team. They've got, and we know that in 3-4 rounds time, it's the big one. You know, KR Wigan. We're all waiting for that, and let's just hope it delivers. And I'm sure it will do. But both KR and Wigan, more so Wigan in recent form. I think losing to Leigh away, losing to Leeds at home, it'll sting, but they could probably live with that. I think Matt Peters probably got more to be concerned about when you're nearly losing. I mean, we're talking Wigan here, so this is no disrespect to Castleford. Nearly losing to Castleford, nearly losing to Huddersfield. He's probably got more concern at this time than Willie Peters in terms of the form of his side. At some point, they have got to start looking like a team that can do what Wigan have done over the years, and not just win games, but win games with not a canter, but with a bit of class and a bit of they were well beat there. And at the moment, that ain't happening, is it? So they need a performance, don't they?
Yeah, yeah, they've been clunky, Dave. There's no airs and graces about it. This is not for the past few weeks. Has not been the Wigan we expect to see. They've scored some really nice off the cuff tries. They've scored a couple of nice structured tries as well against Huddersfield. But some of the defence from that Huddersfield team in that second half is questionable after losing Hewitt and Greenwood. I think that had a big bearing on this game and the way it turned out. Wigan did enough and in that game to win it and score 30 points in that second half. But it was nowhere near perfection. It was nowhere near the quality we expect to see from Wigan. So that's where I think I was saying there'll be some tough conversations in that dressing room this week, and I'd fully expect them to come out a completely different side this week because they need to start building now for that KR game. If they're going to win that and have any chance of winning the League Leaders Shield, we need to start seeing the best Wigan now. And injuries have played its part, and this is the thing, with all top sides, a couple of injuries can just derail your season. There's still 18 points available. There's still 9 games left. That can make a huge bearing on the league ladder. So yeah, I'm hoping for Wigan fans that we see a much improved performance from them this week.
Mathematically, Warrington can still win the Shield. Love what you're doing there, Steph. Not happening. But no, I mean, look, in terms of, again, another fascinating game, especially on the edges. If there is no Marshall, if there is no Miskey, and it's going to be Barron and Martin up against Douglas and Wade. Do you know what? I think FC come off a little bit better there, if I'm being honest. I think, the way Barron and Martin have been playing this season, they probably come off quite a bit better there. So it's going to be very interesting when these two teams get announced, a couple of hours before kickoff. That could be very interesting, the edges, because I do think this is a game for the edges. I really do. I think we know that Wigan like to play expansive down the edges, and I think that FC look perhaps at the best when they're doing the same. So I think that, it's going to be interesting to see who's on those two edges. We know that it's Litton's probably safe as well as Rapana we'd expect to stay in centre. So that's pretty much solid there from that, Kieran and Ward. I think Kieran's been very good this year. But then again, it's going to depend, isn't it? Are they going to put, was Farman HIA or was he injured? I can't remember.
I think he was injured.
As well. So if Farman's not back, it might not be Kieran, it might be Eckersley again, which would be an interesting contest as well, because that would Eckersley be up against Litton, wouldn't he? So that'd be interesting and all. So yeah, it's gonna be a fascinating game. What are you going then? What are you going?
I'm going Wigan 18 plus.
Big win for the.
I've got a funny feeling. Jai Field, I think he was not brilliant against Huddersfield compared to what his standards. He was good, but not brilliant. I can just see him having a really good game in this one. I think he needs to lift the team, and I don't think it's going to be a battering, but enough to get over that 18-point mark.
Yeah, 18 plus. I'm going the same. And because as you were talking there, the other thing that we haven't spoke about is that, of course, Amir Burr's not going to be playing in this at 9. Are they going to regret the Balnforth decision?
Yeah, yeah.
I
This
mean,
is where it could come. It could come and bite him. And there were no Cartwright either. He was injured, wasn't he, against Wakey? So
yeah,
yeah,
so
it's
like,
going to be
yeah,
a tough ask.
it's yeah. I mean, Ed Chamberlain out as well. So
Yeah.
there's going to be a few people missing. So yeah, 18. But I think there's a bit of adversity there, and the Balnforth one's fascinating because arguably he was Catalan's best player in the second half against Warrington last week, and how they could do with him this week. So yeah, interesting, very very interesting. Right, okay, we're doing really well here. Let's now go to Perpignan. Of course, Hull KR going to the Catalan Dragons, and some people might think, oh, doing good, get away, bit of sunshine, and all the rest of it. Believe it or not, Hull KR, one of their bogey teams is Catalan. They have got a really poor record over the Catalan Dragons. They really have. The last time KR won in Perpignan was round 27 of 2019. That's a long time ago, folks. That is a long time ago. So this is not a fixture that's been kind to the Robins. Of course, they want to get back on the horse and pretty quickly. And everything again would tell you, league tables don't lie. KR should go and get this game won. But we have seen a little bit, just a little bit in the last few weeks from Catalan to suggest that perhaps, just perhaps, they've got a bit about them. A very convincing win against Huddersfield 2 weeks ago at home. They weren't disgraced against Leigh at home. That was if you remember, that was the hot one, and 26 points to 12. That was a contest to a point before Leigh got finished the job off. So yeah, I mean, they have been getting a bit better at home. Let's be honest, and let's give him a bit of credit for that. Can't believe it looks weird, doesn't it? Seeing on the form guide 2 L's next to KR. It just seems so weird they've been that good this season. And like I say, every conceivable stat on that page tells you that KR should win this game. But games are not won on pages, Steph. They're won on fields. And yeah, history. 2019, long time ago, that, mate.
It is a long time, but obviously the big boost for KR is going to be having Mikey back, having a break, which I actually think will do Mikey the world of good. Although it's not been beneficial for his team this last week, I think him just having some time just to on his body more than anything. I think as we go to it's a long season, isn't it? As we go towards playoffs, that 1 week can make the world a difference. I expect him to be really hungry as well. Whether whether he'll see he'll be smart in that he wasn't playing in that game against Leigh. He will be really smart because
I feel as if
he'll
you let them down,
yeah,
mate.
yeah, and he will feel that he rightly so would have had a genuine impact in their chances of winning that game. So I think I think Mikey is going to explode in this game. I think he's going to put on a show. I really do. Um, so he's going to be one of those. But uh, Catalan, they played really well that second half against Warrington. The problem was they let Warrington get too far away in that first half. So it's going to be an interesting one. Obviously, no Jez Litton as well for KR, which will be crucial because he's been a key player for KR this
Leyland?
year.
Leyland in for this one?
I think he will do. Yeah, I think they've got to put Bill Leyland in.
Yeah, I agree.
Uh, so yeah, but yeah, so it's take with one hand and give with the other a bit with KR at the moment. I I think it's a perfect opportunity for them to get away. I know you mentioned that a couple of minutes ago. Just for a bit of team bonding, adversity. They've done it tough for the last couple of weeks, and a team that's used to winning to that go back to back losses just potentially just needs a bit of a reset for me. I don't know when they're flying out for this game, but sometimes there's nothing better than just to get a bit of downtime together, a bit of socialising with your teammates, and fall in love with each other again, and remember why your teammates and how well you're doing this season as well. Because it's very easy to forget that when you've had 2 losses. I think it's ominous for Catalan. I really do, just because it has been back to back losses. I think KR are really going to want to make a point.
Yeah, and
And
I
that
think
record.
I think it's good counsel. And look, as much as I think, again, it's probably more reflective of Warrington as well as Catalan in terms of what happened at the weekend. I think we've got to say that Warrington got off to a lead, very Wakey-esque in the fact that I genuinely think Warrington probably thought, oh, job done, lads. And again, they got caught cold, and all credit has got to go to Catalan. But we're talking about a completely different level of rugby team at this moment in time. KR, for me, rightly so, should be respected for the great rugby and the consistency that they've had to this point. And like I say, if they'd lost 2 games, like I say, if they'd been playing against, and again, look, I'm not having to go at any team here, but facts are facts. If they'd have been Wigan and they'd lost to Wakey and played badly against Castleford, and not badly, but nearly lost against Castleford and nearly lost against Huddersfield, Willie Peters is probably sitting there going, hang on, this is a problem. He's lost to a Leeds team that are capable, very capable, and he's lost to a Leeds team that is also very respectable and capable. These teams are going to will be playoff in 2025 and will have a say. They're definitely going to have a say. So for me, I think, it's not a disaster this for KR at all. And like you, I just think that, because of what has happened, I would be amazed if they didn't go early, just to get out of the noise a little bit, just to reset. It'd be good for the body and good for the soul. And I think they've got enough quality. I mean, don't get me wrong, Jez Litton is a hard player to replace, but they have got Bill Leyland. I think Leyland's got a massive future at KR. I really do. And I think, at some point, you've got to give him his legs and you've got to say, right, come on, show your worth, lad. This is why we brought you in. Get on with it.
Mickey Mack going back there as well to Catalan, so he knows that ground better than anybody, doesn't he? So he'll be looking for a really big performance and to tire those middles out to allow Leyland to come on and do what he can do. So I think this is a good game for KR. I really do. I think it's the right game at the right time.
What are you going?
I'm going for 18 plus KR, and like I predicted, we're going to see an explosion from Mikey Lewis. I think he may get a hat trick in this game.
Now, there's a reason why I'm so low on the prediction league this year, so don't get upset about this, all KR fans. I'm not. I just think KR might just be a bit jittery in the first half. I think the first 20, 25 minutes, I think they could be a bit jittery. I don't know why I'm saying that. I just think they could. And I think because of that, I'm going 9-17. I think they won't get off to I could be wrong. They might go and wipe the floor with them. But I just think what I was a bit concerned about, because as a neutral, I wasn't in the emotion of it. So I was watching everything. And the body language of KR was a team that was shell-shocked. They were shell-shocked. I mean, I think they've been playing that well. They could have almost not fallen in love with themselves, but invincibility. Maybe it's been coming a little bit too easy, And when I say easy, I don't think that to win a game of rugby league is not easy. I just mean in terms of the structured plays and the way that they're playing, the telepathy of the play and this, that, and the other. They've been that good this year. They've made the game look easy. All of a sudden, they've had to play. So they've been put under some real stress, and it's how you react in those situations. And against Leigh, they just look shell-shocked, almost like, how has this happened? Well, you're playing Leigh Leopards at the LSV. They're a good team, and if they're overthinking that could be a problem. So that's why I'm saying 9-17. Not that I don't think they're going to win it, but maybe they'll just be a little clunky just to get themselves going. But I think once they get going, I think they will put on a few scores and they should be okay. But yeah, fascinating fixture. And I say 2019. It's a long time. It's going to be interesting. And then, of course, the curtain comes down on the round as Castleford Tigers entertain the Warrington Wolves. Warrington, 45-27 in history, 4-1 up in the last 5 in Super League. 3 wins on the bounce. How's that happened, Warrington? 3 wins on the bounce. There you go. So actually getting into a bit of form, albeit it's not easy on the eye, but it's form. Anyway, Warrington fans have got to take it. You keep saying don't write them off, but that's a different team. That's got a red V on its jumper. But yeah, I mean, look, again, Warrington go into this game as favourite. Of course they do. We were expecting a reaction from the Castleford Tigers at the Salford Red Devils. It didn't happen. They were in the game, but I was expecting more. Chris Chester clearly doesn't want to be head coach. Warrington have got a goal there. You're talking about KR putting down a marker for League Leaders Shield and onward for the season, going to Catalan and just getting the job done. I would argue Warrington have got to put a marker down on Sunday because we've been waiting for it against Salford. Didn't happen. Yeah. Everybody was expecting, here we go. Everybody was expecting Warrington to pile on some points and make that for and against look a bit better. Didn't happen. All credit to Salford. We've then had a game against Catalan, first half, impressive. And then they let it dilute to the point where they nearly lose the game, unbelievably. If Warrington are going to be considered a threat, like you keep saying they should be considered, and we have seen glimpses, don't get me wrong, throughout the season, at some point they've got to show it. At some point, they've got to put a performance on where you go, that's a good win. That is a win. They've been going on. They've got bigger tasks. 1st of August at your gaff. That's a true test. But this for me, and again, you talk about teams building into form the same way that KR and Wigan have got to build into form for their big clash. Warrington have got to be looking at that Leigh away game. They can't afford to lose games and going, we need to be in some sort of form when we get to the LSV, which makes this very, very important game for the Warrington Wolves. They've got to find something, and they've got to find it fast, or when they start to play the likes of Wigan and you again, it's going to be very hard for them.
Well, yeah, they do, and I think I point back to the Hull FC game which you played at your place. I thought Warrington that day were pretty decent, and that's where I think they need to be at in this game to get the result. Oh, we're on the wrong screen there. I don't think that's the best I've seen Warrington against Hull FC, but I think that's a good starting point in terms of this game. And if they can get to that level, which I'm sure they can, that should have enough to get them over the line. Castleford, they look like a team that's just been decimated by the recent events. I mean, Chris Chester in his post match interview, um, he just looked defeated. Obviously, what they'll point to is the optimism of the new signings coming in, and obviously some really good applicants apparently for the head coach's job. So they'll be looking as that, but I don't think that gives them enough short term, because what he basically said is there's going to be 8 or 9 of those players that are currently taking the field who aren't going to be there next year. So what's their motivation at the moment? That's where my concern for Castleford. We know that they can play well. They've had some really, their performance against Wigan was brilliant. So it is in those players. But for me, how does Chris Chester motivate that team now to go out and put a performance in against Warrington? Because they know they're not playing for playoffs. That's not going to happen. So where do you go? What do you use as your motivation? Is it for the love of the club that's about to get rid of you? This is where I'm really worried.
But that said, there is that bit. They're in the shop window, aren't they? They want a contract somewhere else, so there is a little bit of that. But I think what's interesting, Steph, is the fact that Castleford are saying the recruitment is done for 2026 suggests to me that they've had the assurances that they're in Super League 2026. So that again plays into what you're saying. There's no real jeopardy there. It's almost like, let's get this season over and done with. It's been an absolute disaster, and we go again next year. But I think that the only glimmer for Castleford is there'll be a lot of players who know the game's up as a Tigers player, but they'll want a contract because elsewhere. Because when you actually look down the roster, some of those that are maybe casualties, they've still got plenty of rugby in them.
Yeah, they have. I think my biggest concern is from a Chris Chester point of view, in terms of whether he's coming across this way to the players, but he does not want that job, and you can tell he does not want that job in the way he's coming across to the media. That's a different Chris Chester to the one I seen 3 months ago at Leigh.
Yeah.
That's my concern, and I'm sure Chris will do. Is the epitome of a professional, and he'll do everything he can to motivate it. But if he's not believing that job in his own heart, we all know it's a difficult thing to do. Can he do it? Of course he can. He's been a great head coach. But I just have concern the body language from the players. What I saw at Salford, I think Arce was probably the only one who came away with any real credit from that cast side for me. Some of them looked like they didn't want to be there.
Tom and
You
Moan
know,
as well. Tom and
yeah,
Moan.
Tom and Mo had a good game as well.
Yeah.
So that's my concern. But Warrington needs to take advantage of this situation at Castleford, and that's the big if in this game to me. Can they go there and put in an 80-minute performance? If they do, then they'll win comfortably. But we'll learn a lot more about Warrington this week than we will about Castleford.
What score are you going?
Hang on. I forgot what I've predicted, so I need to go in line with that. Hang on. 1 second. I am going. I'm going to go. I'm going to go Warrington 18 plus.
Why 18 plus? Right, okay. I've got Y9 to 17. Right, okay. It's captain's run. It means we're doing this.
Are you sick and tired of winning your bets every week? Want to contribute to the bookies' Christmas party? The bets to ignore when predicting the score. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Bet Steph.
Yes, so just the fivefold handicap bet this week. The try scorers at the time of recording aren't available. So yeah, the first one I'm going Leigh 6.5 plus 6.5. So the bookies are giving a Leigh over a try start, converted try start in this game. So obviously with me backing Leigh 1-8, I think it's going to be a close game. But I think to give Leigh a start as well is quite generous from the bookies. I would have expected this to be more of an evens game, no start for either side. So yeah, I think there's some value in that for this handicap. Wakefield minus 8.5. Like I say, I expect with Huddersfield's injuries that Wakefield are going to have a lot too much for Huddersfield this week, so I expect them to be able to overcome that minus 8.5. Wigan minus 14.5. Again, I think they're going to look at this as a statement game and look to get back to some form. So I'm backing them to overcome that. KR minus 8.5 against the Dragons. Mikey Lewis, I think, will score more than that on his own. And Warrington minus 12.5 against Cass. Statement win required from Warrington. They need to put the points on Castleford because points difference will be important for them as well in this playoff chase. So the total odds 25-1.
25-1. Yeah, we'll wake you, let you down again. Hey, unbelievable. But yeah, no, I mean, again, on paper it looks feasible. It looks feasible. We'll see how that one goes when we come back for Round Unpacked in a couple of weeks' time, because yours truly is in Cyprus as you're watching this. But yeah, the commitment of Super League Raw and of course my mate Steph doing this with me tonight so that we can put something out on Thursday. We hope you've enjoyed it. A bit different. We apologise for that. Not as much fanfare, not as much graphics, but I've been right up against it. If you haven't seen it, ladies and gentlemen, available now. If you haven't seen Weekly, and if you haven't seen it advertised, but you've come across us here tonight, go to our YouTube channel, Super League Raw on YouTube, or go to our website, superleagueraw.com. An exclusive interview with Steve McNamara, his first since his departure with the Catalan Dragons, available for you to watch. It's also available to download as a podcast now on Spotify, or Apple, etc. Great interview with Steve McNamara. Believe me, it'll fly by the hour. You'll absolutely love it. And he comes across as a top man. Believe you me, he will be back in the game very, very quickly. There is a Super League Raw Weekly. Don't worry about that on Tuesday night. There is no In the Sheds while I'm away. There's no Round Unpacked for the members. We do apologise for that. But all the good stuff will be back once I get back from holiday. But the things that will remain Captain's Run. This time next week, both Steph and Greg will be in the hot seat, live as always. So they'll be back for the Captain's Run round 20 in a week's time. Super League Raw Weekly carries on as always. We hope you don't mind the disruption. Yours truly does need a break. On behalf of myself and on behalf of Steph, enjoy round 19. Some belting games again. Super League is just getting bigger and better. You'd be a rugby fan. Enjoy the weekend, folks. Bye for now.